Boom, babies. What up? Ryan Flynn in the house. Sponsored by Organic Living Soda Root Beer. Not carbonated. Are you ready to rock in the motherfucking house? Not sure how long this will be, but we'll just we'll flow. We'll go with the flow. Tuesday night, not much going on in the Earlverse. Nothing really wacky to talk about. So it might be a short one. Or it could be a 2-hour one. Who knows? But we already have a strong group in the house. And it just got better. Well, be careful listening and driving. Don't look at the stream too much. Although I do realize for a stand-up comic, I am appealing to look at. I hit the gene pool lottery when it comes to male stand-up comics. Not a real good-looking bunch, if you know what I'm saying. And I think you do. So, by the way, let's get the plugs out of the way. Early bird. I will be at the Comedy Store this Saturday night, closing out the main room in the coveted Holtzman, Kinnison, Brody, Tripoli spot. It's now the Skakel spot. So, if you are new or local to the LA scene, hit me up on the Instagram. I'll take care of you. Even give you a little tour of the facilities as an added bonus, which I believe is a bonus in the Bonzo Berry membership level. But I'm not sure. Hit the like button, though, for me doing these streams. I don't think that's too much to ask. We have 8 people in here and only 3 likes. That's outrageous. But I hope you guys are doing well. You know, we're just a happy-go-lucky stream in the Earlverse. There's no drama in here. We get very few trolls in here. Very light on the Dabbleverse talk. Although I do realize some of you are here from the Dabble land. The worst day, I don't really have a worst day of the week. I mean, Saturdays are great because I'm doing comedy, usually at the store. Sunday's football, you know. I actually kind of like Mondays, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I don't really have a worst day of the week. Wednesdays are a good day of the week because a lot of my favorite TV shows are on. Chicago PD, Survivor, AEW Wrestling, which should be good this week because they have a pay-per-view on Saturday, Full Gear. Bobby Lashley taking on Swerve Strickland. And I think Kenny Omega was in New Japan recently wrestling. So might get a surprise Kenny Omega. Yeah, I mean, Nitro. I mean, Mondays were great. Monday Night Raw, Nitro, Monday Night Football. I mean, it was a real triple dipper. So, but now the games are like you got to search for the games. You got Amazon has one. I think Paramount or Peacock. There's one. I liked it when all the games on Sunday were either on channels 2 and 4, and then Fox came in, and you had one Monday night game. Last time I was on the Ding Dong Show, I mean, I don't go up to the Comedy Store on Mondays. Oh, that's cool, ACDC. I love Jason Behe. But last time I was on the Ding Dong Show, I can't even remember. I mean, I can't really remember the last time I watched the Ding Dong Show. I used to go up there a lot on Mondays, but the problem with Mondays is it's just you have a lot of let me break down Mondays for you at the Comedy Store. First, at about 7 p.m., you have potluck. And those are for younger comics, usually trying to get into the Comedy Store, and that lasts till about, I think 8:30, 8:45, and then you have what's called Friends and Family, which are comics who aren't past, but they're a little above potluck. So they're, Friends and Family are for comics who are pretty close to showcasing. And then you have the paid regulars come in and start basically what's an open mic for paid regulars. And you just sign up and you go up. But the problem is a lot of comics who don't get spots there will go up on Monday and go like, "Hey, this is basically a spot for me. I'm going to go long." And it's a really long night. It's a lot of bad comedy. And I just got tired of going on toward the end, mining for what little nuggets are left in the room. What up, Ross? So I don't go up there on Monday nights anymore. I mean, I used to sign up and then go upstairs, watch the Ding Dong Show, go back downstairs, and socialize or whatever, kibitz. And then, just like, you know, for the potluck for paid regulars, we get, I think, 8 minutes, but the paid regulars who don't get spots, they'll do as long as 15 minutes just because they know they're not coming back the rest of the week. So who cares? So, you know, like if, typically there'd be about 20 paid regular spots for Monday night. But because everyone runs the fucking light, if you were above the number 8, you probably weren't going on, unless people in the top 8 left. So it's just the way it is. Have you ever chewed out a comic for bombing so bad? No, I mean, I bomb too, not often, but I still do bomb here and there. Bombing really isn't. There's so many variables that go into bombing. Like even at Hackamania, I would say the first couple minutes I was bombing because, the comic before me, was like doing pedophile jokes and they just weren't hitting. And I think he might have been a newer comic because you could tell he had no plan B. And for like 8 straight minutes, the room was pretty silent. And then I was the last comic on the show. So, I wasn't mad at him. Of course, I wasn't happy he was bombing, but, when someone's bombing in front of you, it usually takes you a couple minutes to get the room back. Have you ever, how great is that? I do like that song. Life is a highway all night long. Tom Cochran, a Canadian legend. I don't know a lot about him other than that song, but William Zoom in the house, already putting the plugs in. I do realize my Patreon is a little slacking, but I've been concentrating so much on YouTube that I don't have a lot of footage that would be good for Patreon only. Although the Comedy Store does um, tape your sets now in the main room, so I guess I could start putting those up. Um, but yeah, follow me everywhere at Earl Skakel. I lost about since the election, close to 100 followers on Twitter. I'm not sure if they were bots or whatever, but, so I'm a shade under 12,000, but on Instagram, I'm, above 12,000. So, um, thank you guys for sticking it out with me. And, I'm up for a few voiceover gigs that would be nice if I got them. Of course, they're pilots, so you just never know if they're even get made. And even if you make them, you don't really know if they'll get picked up. I mean, I had a pretty good feeling the Jellies was going to get. I mean, the Jellies basically we did a whole season as a pilot. We did a pilot season basically. So that's always a good sign, but, like the things I'm up for now, it was just one episode, and then you hope to sell it. Yeah, I mean, they rage quit. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, I have, what's that, Social Blade where you can go on and check your followers to see what's real and what's not, and I think ironically on Instagram and X, I'm at about 94% real. That's pretty good. If you're above 90% real, you're good. Of course, I know the ones that are fake, the ones that, I see sometimes girls in bikinis watch my stories, they're bots because they have 0 followers, 0 posts. Um, I want to see a Jesse Lee Peterson comedy set. I think, I don't know if he could do a traditional comedy set. He would need someone to play off of because that's what's so great about Jesse Lee Peterson is his ability to make his guests uncomfortable. So if you took the guest out of the picture, I don't know if it would work. Um, did Fat Sal's burn down? I didn't know that. Well, there's 2 of them. There's one in Encino, and then probably the one you're talking about. I hope it didn't. The one it's either on Highland or La Brea. Um, and it's funny, when I was an executive member at Equinox, my locker was right next to Fat Sal. He's a great guy. Wow, that's a bummer. I didn't know that burned down. Who knows? Maybe it was like an Eddie Nash insurance grab. Um, wow, I haven't heard of that. Was that recent, William? I got to keep up on my own city. There's a couple big fires 2 nights ago. Oh, wow. Wow. Was that recent? That's crazy. Um, wow. What a bummer, man. I mean, I'd stopped going there, maybe right after the pandemic. We used to always go there from the Comedy Store. Me and Adam and Chandler and a couple other people. But I hadn't been there in a couple years, to be honest with you, because their sandwiches are um, a bit fattening for my taste, but they're really good. Like, the problem is, you're eating that shit at 2 or 3 in the morning. It's gonna turn into fat. Hold on, let me get my new sody pop. Whoa. Oh wow. I mean, I'm amazed that shit doesn't happen more on airplanes as well. Sorry, I'm taking the last of my bronchitis medicine. My cough is 90% done. Lance, we don't talk about steel toe in here. We don't do that in here. But I get it. I mean, that's why I'd rather have a stream with 11 people here and not get trolled. I mean, the breaking news: Donald Trump nominates Linda McMahon for education. This cabinet's getting wackier all the time. Um, but I don't. I mean, I watched that clip you're talking about, Lance. I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, I have a someone in my family who has severe MS. Uh, it ain't pretty. Let me just say that. So I don't know why Johnny would go on an internet show where, especially now, the host gets trolled relentlessly, and you're kind of caught in the crossfire. I mean, I certainly wouldn't do it if I wouldn't do it if I was well, I am completely healthy. But isn't Turtle from Entourage? I mean, I'm sure he has investors, but I was next to, I think, Sal, big. He's either Italian or Persian, kind of like thick. He wasn't fat, but he was like almost had like a pro wrestler body, but he was a great guy. Really nice. Always had amazing sneakers on. He's a big sneaker head. Real pussy hound. I mean, that's all we talked about. Um, and then I mean, Fats House did so well that they opened up one in is it like I guess it would be Encino, kind of on that border of Encino and Reseda, but well, that's too bad. I mean, I'm sure he has insurance, and I'm sure he has celebrity investors. I don't know. I don't really hang out in that area at night anymore, but it was always busy, always popping. Um, so I went there a few times with Don Barris. There used to be a real late night shadow crew that would go out to eat afterwards. It'd be Barris, Adam, Hinchcliffe, me, Matt Edgar, a couple other people. And then Tuesday nights were big for the roast battle after party, I guess you'd say. We'd all go to Norm's, and then we'd go to Cena's apartment. Cena was the guy who replaced me at the heckler table. He'd have these wacky after hours parties. Uh, oh, there's trust me on that one. I mean, you have no idea how many restaurants go belly up in that area. I mean, Kevin Hart's restaurant just shut down, literally right across the street from Hollywood High. Now, you would think that would, I mean, Kevin Hart's probably pretty popular with that age level, but I think it was like all vegan or something. And kids today, they don't want that shit. They want McDonald's, man. They want burgers and fries and shakes and McNuggets or whatever. And he was like trying to have healthy fast food. Now he probably didn't put any money into his own project. He probably did the Gene Simmons, mode of have investors put it in, and then you just slap your name on it and get paid. Well, I might be off on that, William, but it was, and it's funny because right across the street is Chick-fil-A, which is packed constantly. What up, Animal Mother? I know. I'm waiting for a hockey player to do it, but I just, it's like I'm such a commercial real estate freak because of my family's business. Excuse me, this is not carbonated. My bad. My bad. Um, that and I'm a businessman. So I would have thought Kevin Hart might go, yeah, I'll do a fried chicken place, which would probably have a line out the fucking door. I mean, literally, it's uh, 200 feet from Hollywood High. Um, so, well, I could see a vegan fake McDonald's doing well in a certain area, like maybe Brentwood, where, people are a little more health conscious, West Hollywood, um, which I would consider maybe people being a little more health conscious, but I can't imagine. I mean, it was a nice storefront. I mean, it looked like basically a typical fast food, Burger King style building, green. It was brand new. So it stood out because that area is pretty run down. But it didn't do very well. I mean, I never saw people there. Um, and sometimes I would have to drive around like for a voiceover audition in that area. So I always drove by, go, man, it's going to be packed. There's maybe a smattering of people there. I mean, it's hard. Brick and mortar, man. It's hard to fucking. There's very few brick and mortar stores that are thriving. Um, I mean, REI, which was the big outdoor, they just shut down in Santa Monica because they were fucking sick of the homeless. And that was a great store. That's where I bought my mountain bike. Yeah, there is a Chick-fil-A right across the street. So you've got Hart here, Hollywood High. Oh, let me do this. Hart is here, Hollywood High is here, and Chick-fil-A is like here. So, it's like a golden triangle. I'll use a Miami Vice phrase. Um, that's just proof, like if you have a solid business model, I mean, kids want fried fucking food, fast, cheap, and Chick-fil-A has a line from the minute they open to midnight when they close. Um, and Hart, I never once saw a line there ever. Um, and it's right on the corner of like Sunset and Highland, like on the corner. I mean, you can't get a better location visibility wise. I mean, it's just impossible to get a better location, and that's a very well traveled intersection. But I mean, I don't about Pat, but we don't do that pedo talk in here, Michael, Trevor. We go into. I'm sure there's 12 streams right now talking about Stuttering John. Throw that talk over there, unless you super chat me. Hello. I do have a mountain. I don't ride it a ton, but every now and then I'll bust it out and ride around the city. Maybe I'll like I could see when the Gold's Gym in the Beverly Center opens up. I don't want to say it's too far of a walk, but I'd be pretty tired by the time I got there if I walked there, and I'd have to walk back. So I could see myself riding my bike to Gold's Gym, um, which would be cool. I can't wait for that to open. 24 hours, with my sleep schedule, I'll go there at 4 in the morning. I got back into pumping hard on Sunday night. Yeah, and now it's packed on Sunset. Um, but it's just sometimes location doesn't help. I'm a location freak. So, you'd think a fast food place owned by Kevin Hart on Sunset and Highland. I mean, I would say from noon till about 5, maybe even 6, that intersection gets a couple 100,000 cars just in those hours. Now, I'm not really up between, say, 8 and noon, but, I'm assuming it's pretty good too. So, pumping hard on a Sunday night. What was her name, Earl? Hello. I don't divulge names in here. We don't do that in here. I have lived in California my whole life. The first 20 years were in the cavernous hills of Bel Air, California. And then I moved to I can remember all my addresses. I went to 8569 Burton Way, apartment 302. And then I went to 4111 Veteran Avenue in Westwood. And then I went to 2160 Century Park East. And then the big earthquake happened in 94. So I went to 2170 Century Park East on the first floor. And then I went to 321 South San Vicente. And then I moved to my current home location. Oh my God. Well, I mean, where I lived, I mean, I'll say this. When my parents moved to Miami in 1988, I think they sold, I mean, I think they sold the house as is for about $1,000,000. The current value of 10500 Roca Place in Bel Air, California, I believe it sold lastly for 10,000,000, but they renovated it big time. I mean, I go on Zillow every now and then and look at the pictures. Like the house looks unrecognizable on the inside. I mean, they didn't tear it down, but they tore down the inside, but they kept the structure. Like the pool area looks pretty much the same. Um, so I would say the average price of a Bel Air home, I mean, deep into Bel Air, I mean, that's tough. I mean, you've got like the Beverly Hillbillies house, which is probably around 100,000,000. You got like my parents' house, which is probably about 9 to 10 million. There's not too many $4 and $5 million homes in Bel Air. I mean, if I would say the surrounding houses of Bel Air Country Club, you're talking 8 to $100 million. I mean, I know the house off the 10th green of Bel. Now I realize none of you know, the whole layout, but like I know the house off the 10th green of Bel Air Country Club just sold for like 100 million. I know the house to the right of the sixth tee box was Conrad Hilton's home. That's easily $100 million home. Bel Air is gated, but anyone can drive through the gates. I mean, unless you're a real fucking riffraff, they do have their own security, Bel Air Patrol, but if you know where you're going, they don't look twice at you. Which tax do you think you should be removed? I mean, the gas tax in California. I mean, it's fucking bonkers. I mean, the gas prices are high enough, but we get a special tax out here where now I'm lucky the BMW doesn't require a lot of gas. I mean, I maybe fill it up twice a month and it goes. Um, so you have the east and the west gate of Bel Air, and I think the west gate is where the Bel Air Patrol is stationed. Well, you can make a case for you know any tax to be removed. You could keep the gas tax, and if I didn't have to pay income tax, that'd be fucking awesome. I mean, I'm in probably the most taxed state in the world. I mean, you're taxed on your fucking taxes. I mean, no property taxes. That would be cool. What's the wealthiest neighborhood in California? I mean, Bel Air is definitely up there. It's Bel Air, there's Holmby Hills, I mean, like, where the Playboy Mansion is, there are some fat I mean, on Mapleton Drive, which is where the Playboy Mansion is, I would say the average is 20,000,000. And then, of course, Malibu, there's some fat houses, on, what was it, The Colony, or was it Broad Beach Road? I mean, you're talking a fixer-upper on Broad Beach Road is 7 to $8,000,000. Uh, yeah, I mean, you're lucky, are you ready? I mean, I mean, if I were to rent my place out, the good news is I could get $4,500 a month for it easily. Well, I mean, I would say the only fucking stressful part of the Bel Air Patrol gig is, there's gonna be a lot of home invasions in Bel Air just because of, you know, the people, nowadays it's easy to tell when people aren't home, if you see like, um, I mean, on Bel Air Road. Now, my parents lived on Roca Place, but there's some fat homes on Bel Air Road that I believe is where the Beverly Hillbillies house is. Uh, but it's very easy to find celebrity homes, and you see. I mean, I know he's dead, but just for example, Johnny Carson. He lived on Bel Air Road, a fat, I mean, unbelievable home. Um, obviously he's taping the Tonight Show at about 6 p.m., so he's probably there from like noon to probably 9 o'clock, and then he goes out to dinner. So you've got a window of opportunity to rob Johnny Carson's house from, noon to basically midnight, probably. So now I'm sure he had security and whatnot, but if you're a thief who knows what he's doing, you've got like, and it's the Bel Air Patrol, like, they're rent-a-cops basically, so, if you got it's kinda like that, scene toward the end of Scarface where the truck is outside the house, uh, if you have a construction truck that looks like a cable company or whatever, you can just park it out there, case the place, and take it from there, so, um, you know, um So, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, Bel Air Patrol, they probably have a couple rough nights a year. But, you gotta always be on guard with the home invasions. Now rappers live there, and, that's a whole fucking, problem world. Yeah, Baltimore is rough. I mean, celebrities live all over. I mean, there's hundreds of celebrities. A lot live in Bel Air. A lot live in, Century City, which you would think, what? But Century City has some really nice condos, like $3 or $4 million condos. Right across the street from the Comedy Store are some of the more expensive condos in the city, like where the old House of Blues used to be. You've got condos that look down on the Comedy Store that are 30 and $40 million. So, um, I'm trying to think, of where else, well, on, what was it? I think it's called, Sunset Tower, which is right off if you're familiar with the LA area, right off of Doheny. I think it's actually on Doheny Road. Not Doheny Drive, but Doheny Road. And that's where, like, Axl Rose used to live. That's where many, many Liberace, old school celebrities, '80s rockers. I think Elton John had a play, and you're talking, it's like a 20-story condo complex. Probably the upper floors, it's easily $6 to $20 million condos. And with the homeowners, now if you got that kind of money, you don't really care about the homeowners, but you've got, homeowners of like 5 grand a month. What up? Step aside, Jesus. Thank you for the kind words. Ben Bones, motherfucking Jones. Who had more money, Jose Menendez or Mr. Skakel? We don't talk about finances in here. Um, Earl, have you met who's Michael Turner? I don't the guy in here? No, I don't believe I have. Um, So, Sunset if you live in Sunset Towers, you're doing well. Hollywood Hills, there's a lot of money. Uh, I remember, I think me and Chandler went to Lana Del Rey's open house. She wanted to go check out the house. It was for sale. I mean, that was in that area, Franklin Canyon, up Beechwood, Canyon area, if you're familiar with LA. And that was probably a $2 to $3 million home. And it wasn't a shack, but it wasn't like some gigantic house either. And that was $3 million. So, oh yeah, I mean, you go to, there's many like I remember when I would go to Alabama, and we're talking Decatur, Alabama, there was a mansion right by Chandler's parents' house, $1 million. If you put that in a huge lot, I mean, a gigantic stone brick house, gigantic lot, that same house in Bel Air would be $25 million easily. Um, so Speaking of house porn, does Benji Aflalo still do stand-up? I mean, I see him every now and then at the store. Uh, oh yeah, I mean for a million, but then you got to live in Decatur, Alabama, and although they do have a comedy club there, I think Huntsville Live. I don't really know anyone in Decatur, Alabama, uh, and the few people I do, I'm probably not welcome there. So. Um, if I was like super rich and just wanted to have a nice house in the South, fuck yeah. Um, but uh, yeah, I mean, Huntsville, I think was voted the smartest city in the United States because of all the NASA people there. Well, I mean, no, Huntsville Live is one of the better clubs in the country, but like, I'm not going to move to Decatur, Alabama to like play Huntsville Live once every 4 months. Um, but never say never. I know Shuley lives in Alabama, so maybe I'll go there to visit him. Who knows? Um, so, but yeah, I mean, in the Valley. There's. I went to a very famous comics house in Encino, and this house was easily $10 million. So, the Valley has some very expensive areas. Studio City in the hills, like above Ventura. There's some fat houses, and if you've ever been to, well, I was just talking about, yeah, I could hang out with Shuley and Conrad Thompson. Sorry, ACDC. I was just talking about, the Alabama real estate. Um, so, if you've ever been to LA and driven up Laurel or Coldwater Canyon or Benedict Canyon or Beverly Glen, those are the four big canyons that bridge the valley to the west side. That one part of, I believe it's Coldwater Canyon, there's $10 million homes. There's a home on, it's right at the start of Coldwater Canyon on Sunset that's got to be $100 million. It's where the Shah of Iran burned down the home, or the protesters burned down his statues. Remember, like 79, the Shah of Iran had a house on Sunset. They basically tore that down and built this mega, like it's easily $100 million. So yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's called what is it called in Malibu? Colony Road, and there's another big street, the Colony, but Malibu Road. I mean, you're talking on the beach, uh, easily $50 million homes, like Cher's home, which sits on top of a bluff. I mean, I don't know how much it is, but it's absolutely $50 million. Well, I mean, who knows? LA City Council. I mean, it could be worse. I could live in Frisco, which is a real shithole, but thank God I don't. I'm hoping Gavin Newsom runs for president in 2028 just to get him out of the fucking state. Brace up for that if he wins. Um, and there's other like Santa Monica, off of Ocean Avenue. There's some fat condos. I mean, you're talking 2, 3, $4 million condos because you're looking right on the beach. I mean, that would be. I mean, nothing could be worse than Newsom. Um, so it'll be interesting. Um, I mean, it is a very democratic state, so she would have um, a good chance. I mean, I would love to see those debates. Her and Newsom. Like, if he said, "Fuck it, I just want to be governor again," that would be some fun debates. Because they are one and the same. Trust me on that one. So I'm trying to think other rich areas. I mean, Pacific Palisades definitely has some fat homes. There's an area on Sunset, right before Sunset hits the beach, maybe about 3 miles in. It's called Pacific Palisades. I mean, there's $10 million homes. I mean, there is an incredible amount of wealth. And you drive around my area on Sunset. Now I'm a block below Sunset. You drive a block above Sunset on any street. It's ungodly, the homes in Beverly Hills, above Sunset, north of Sunset. Like, it's 10 to $50 million homes. I mean, a fixer upper is we don't talk about anyone from Cleveland, Dr. Chow. You know better than that. You've devoted the whole podcast to him. That's unbelievable to me. We don't do that, AC. You have to super chat his name if you want me to say his name in here. If I finally learned from the Kevin Brennan method, you want me to say his name, you got to super chat it, and then I'll say it. Um, I'm finally learning how to milk the fans for money. So no, I know I'm just fucking around. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's crazy the amount of wealth that's in this state. I mean, I'm trying to think other areas that are. I mean, really, Studio City. I mean, Burbank has some nice homes. I mean, I'm not talking 10 to 20, $30 million homes, but like that's where Red Band used to live before he blew up and killed Tony, and Rogan and whatnot. He had a real nice place in Burbank. Um, so, you know, and even my area of West Hollywood is like, this is $1 million condo I live in. It's not like mind-blowingly nice. So that's the crazy thing. And just to show you how real estate prices have gone, the realtor I was working with, he said, "Well, listen, I'm going to send you homes you could basically trade your condo for $1 million for $1 million." He was sending me homes in fucking Compton and by SoFi Stadium. Get the fuck out of here. So, I'm gonna probably be staying right here in West Hollywood. The Pasadena's got some fat homes. I mean, that's where David Lee Roth. Uh, if you've ever seen the video for Pretty Woman, Van Halen did, that was done in Pasadena, in the foothills of Pasadena. That was probably a $10 million home. So Earl, torture yourself. Watch a clip of No, we don't talk about Kill Tony comics in here. We This is not a Kill Tony wrap up show. We don't do that in here. So did you hear Ari showed his balls at the Kill Tony? Oh no, I don't watch Kill Tony. I don't. I'm not watching the clip of Ari showing his balls. I've seen them in firsthand. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is impressive. So. Um, you know. Yeah, but David Lee Roth's dad was a very successful dentist. So, if you watch the Pretty Woman video, it's all at his house. So, no, this is not a Dabbleverse, Chad. We don't talk about Chad Zumock and Brennan going after Stuttering John. This is not a wrap-up show. This is not. My name's not Carlos Danger. We don't do that in here. How much we don't talk about living conditions for people we don't talk about in here, but it's about, like I said, I could rent out my place for 4,500 a month. Hopefully I either win the lottery or get some fat voiceover gigs, and I'll rent this room out to. I'll leave the podcast gear here, and you guys could do a Dabbleverse wrap up show. I know nobody does. Nobody does. That was the one funny thing when I took uh, that person who shall remain nameless in here to the Dirty at 12:30 show in Vegas after Hackamania, and he started talking about the Dabbleverse, and there was like 8 or 9 comics in the green room, and they were all looking at me like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" Because no one cares. The Dabbleverse to a lot of us and to people like me who like obviously I don't care about it, but I'm fascinated by it to a degree. It's a big deal to everyone. I mean, how many spin-off shows are there about that whole world? But I would say 98% of stand-up comics don't know about it and they don't care. It's just funny to me. Um, Well, I mean, I'm not familiar, William, with Pasadena real estate from the that era, but I mean, if you look at David Lee Roth's house and the Pretty Woman video for Van Halen, that was a fat spread. Um, yeah, well, no, I mean, I listen, I understand. It's just like I was talking with someone last night at a comedy show about Kill Tony, and they said, "Hey, you've been on it like 6 or 7 times. How come you haven't been back?" I'm like, "Well, I think I'm kinda banned from the show because of the last time I was on it." But I was saying, like, I don't really like the show, but I understand why it's popular, So and that's the same thing with the Dabbleverse. Like, I just think it's boring and repetitive. We get it. Steel Toe had a wife swap situation that went awry, and Stuttering John was on Howard Stern 30 years ago. You know, but it's lasted longer than I thought it would. I mean, eventually they're going to run out of targets. But I just it's so boring and repetitive. I lost interest in it a long time ago. Why? Because Tony, it was the episode. It's on YouTube. If you, sure, it's not that hard to find. And I don't know if I'm banned or not. To be honest with you, I'm just saying that I haven't been asked back since my last episode. It was on. I was on with Jim Roberts, Jim Norton, and Sam Roberts, and Ali McCoskey was telling a story about 2 comics who took her to Tijuana. And I think she was underage at the time. So I jokingly threw out, who was it? Dalia and Callan? And Tony kicked me under the table and like, well, there goes those 2 guests. And look who was right. I haven't been asked back since. I have not seen Jeremy Piven. He doesn't come to the Comedy Store. Well, I don't think Kill Tony's I don't watch Kill Tony, so I don't know if it's repetitive. I was talking about the Dabbleverse. Um, but what I was saying about Kill Tony was, you take all those comics who are popular on the show and you take them out of the Kill Tony world and you put them into a regular comedy club audience, they struggle because a real comedy club audience, they want to hear fucking jokes. They don't want to hear like roast jokes about someone else on Kill Tony. So I know. I mean that's the thing. I mean, I just noticed your badass Kiss zip up. Oh yeah, I mean I do have this is a nice Kiss zip up. It's got some shit on this line. Something on the back. It's a little cold in California. Thank you very much. Um, so, well, I'm not gonna. I think they're. I don't know if I would say they suck, but I said the same thing about roast battle. Like, you know, you take a roast battle comic out of a roast battle crowd and go, okay, go feature at the improv for whoever, for Earl. They gave Earl a headlining date. And that crowd's going to be staring at you, going, "Okay, we don't want to hear roast jokes. We want to hear jokes." And most of them, not all, but most of them don't have it. And that's definitely the same thing with Kill Tony. Like Kill Tony makes these comics like well known, and they can barely stumble through 1 minute of stand up. And the thing is, even some of the funnier ones, you're on a stage with you got Tony, Red Band, and two or three famous comics. You got the band, so you've got like as many as 10 people to play off of and mine for a laugh. But when you're asked to, and these kids have followings of 50,000 and above, and you're going to get booked at any club in the country when you have 50,000 followers on Instagram. But you get to that comedy club and you don't have Tony with you. You don't have Red Band with the sound effects. You don't have Bert Kreischer and Harlan Williams on stage to help you get out of a jam. You don't have a band to, fuck around with. You're just up there by yourself. And it ain't pretty because a lot of those comics don't have the chops yet. And some will, but they don't have it then. And the thing is, when you bomb at a big comedy club, be it a Funny Bone or an Improv or State, was that place in Wisconsin, Comedy on the State or something, you're not going to be asked back. So when you do have the chops, good luck trying to get back into that club. Oh yeah, Guns N' Roses, they always have some quality hoodies. Where do you have your LWO shirt? Come on now. Peter Chicken Man Brennan coming in toward the end, the back half of the stream. I appreciate it. Uh well, I mean, I can't say how Tony acts. Like, you saw the one clip of David Lucas when he did the George Floyd joke in a comedy club, and it didn't do well. And then half the crowd got up and left because he didn't really have a save line to get that crowd to stay. Uh, but that joke he did was really funny if it's in a Kill Tony environment. Um, I don't watch the show, so I've never seen one Uncle Laser joke, and I don't watch comedy, so unless I see him at the Comedy Store or something, I'll probably never see him go up. I mean, I've done shows with Hans Kim before, and he's okay, but like, and he's one of the more popular people on the show. Uh, well, I mean, most of them, um, like I said, you're stumbling through 1 minute of stand up, and you've got, the band and Tony and Red Band and all those people helping you basically get a laugh because you're playing off of each other. And, you don't have that when you're asked to headline on your own. You're up there, and the only other thing on that stage is the mic stand and the curtain behind you. So, I would love to do Joey Diaz's show again. Yeah, I mean, like it's not that hard to be funny for 1 minute. But like I would say at least when I was on the panel, not the Iron Patriot, but I think I did like 3 or 4 panels on Kill Tony. I would say 50 to 60% of the comics on had trouble doing 1 minute. So I would be pissed if I was a comedy club patron and I paid 30, 40, $50 to see a Kill Tony comic because I'm a fan of the show and they tapped out after 10 minutes. Because you got to figure most of them are younger. So, let's say, I don't know Uncle Laser, never seen his act. So I can't say if he's funny or not. I really can't. Uh, I don't know how long he's been doing comedy. A couple years, I'll assume. So a couple years, you're lucky if you have 10 good minutes after 3 years. So you get on the stage at, say, the Funny Bone in Jacksonville, and you're asked to do an hour, and you're going to be so fucking nervous up there, as you should be, as I would be. You're going to go through your 10 good minutes in about literally 4 minutes because you're gonna step on the laugh, you just wanna get to the next joke, and then you gotta be up there for another 45 minutes, 50 minutes. You're gonna do crowd work, and, when those crowds are drinking, like that club in Jacksonville, they fucking pound booze. You're in trouble, brother. So, yeah, Kill Tony, I was telling someone this last night. Kill Tony's the new Gong Show, and that's not a insult towards Tony or the show. The Gong Show was hilarious to watch because the contestants on that show, much like the contestants on Kill Tony, they don't fucking realize they're the joke. A based R is TT short bus. You might be new to the stream. Hello, hello. I don't know. Ross Broken is fake Chandler. Oh, I don't know what that means. The only two positive things Kill Tony did was give Holtzman exposure and showing Red Band isn't a stand-up. Yeah, I mean, definitely Holtzman, and I've seen Red Band do well. Like, he obviously has like, he has what we all want. When I say we, I mean me as a comic. He has a fan base, and to his fan base, he's funny, and that's all you want. Like, hopefully, you guys in this stream think I'm funny. So this is exactly what I want. Um, I'm going to out cap Peter Chicken Man Brennan. Oh, we got some competing cap. What was that one time we had competing super chatters? That was pretty funny. I've realized that street jokes and clever puns are some of the hardest jokes to come up with. Red Band has its moments. Red Band was so bad in the early Joe Rogan experience days, but Red Band was a new comic, so I was bad in my early days of stand up, but I was likable. And Red Band, I think in the early days was like a kid, like he was likable. And like he's funny to his fan base, and that's what we all want. I remember when I bombed, I was asked to do an AA convention, a couple thousand people, not quite like Tony at Madison Square Garden, but it was a pretty big gig for me. And I had to follow Joe Walsh of the Eagles, who is like a legend in the AA world. I mean, like he is the man. And I fucking bombed for about a half hour, just bombed. You can't imagine me bombing. I'm pretty funny, but like even Joe Walsh just looked at me after him. He's like, "You got balls of steel." But you know, so we're all bad at some point, you know. Um, but I mean, I think Red Band is the brains of Kill Tony. Hell, he was the brains of the Joe Rogan Experience, and he was the brains of Your Mom's House. So like, you never really hear Red Band get the love, but like he is a podcast innovator. Um, so why I think Red Band is funny to, like I said, his fan base. Um, I'm funny to my fan base, and I don't have nearly the fan base he does. So yeah, I mean, he is a technical guru. I mean, even when he did Inappropriate Earl, he came over here and he was like, "Oh, your settings should be this, this, and that." And ever since he did my podcast, it sounded 100 times better. Uh, will Stuttering John reach Shab hate level? I mean, he's probably already there. I mean, Chicken Man, I'll allow a Dabbleverse question from you. I mean, I think Shab rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because he was kind of in denial with how bad he was as a comic. Now, I've met Shab a few times. He's actually a nice guy. He was just in denial about his comedy ability. I mean, what he was doing was essentially what I would be doing if I walked in to the UFC and fought and got my ass kicked, but I walked around the locker room like I was John Jones. Stuttering John just, I mean, I don't really follow him. I'll see one of the clip shows with him and Brennan going at it. I just think, my bet would be he thinks he's funnier than he is. And they're probably pretty equal in hate wise, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know if he what up, Boulder Johnny? I mean, my sound is good now, but I was just saying on the podcast before it was a little wonky, and then when Red Band came over to do his episode, he was just like tweaked a few buttons just visually. He just kind of stopped when he walked by the soundboards. Oh, bingo. So I'm team Red Band. Um, Dominic, have you? I mean, I'm in a good mood. I'll allow a Dabbleverse question here and there. Have you heard the comedy stylings of Felicia? I have not. I mean, I know who she is because I do listen to MLC, but I have no. I know she used to date Pat Dixon, but I don't really. I don't know much about her. I don't know anything about her stand up. Well, I mean, I don't know if Rogan ever told him he was doing great. I think Rogan got him started into comedy, and then, Joe's fucking busy, man. He probably wasn't paying attention to Schaub and the backlash, but I would guess that one of Joe's comedy friends probably called Joe up and go, "Hey, man, you got to tell your boy he's out of control," and then that's what started. Probably Rogan going, "Hey, bro, like." I got you into this, but like, the feedback so far ain't great on you. You got to like be likable in comedy, not necessarily with the crowd, but with, your fellow comics, or you won't get on a fucking show. Cause like, Shaw performed at the Comedy Store a bunch, but he was always on the outside promoter shows. He's not a paid regular. You get on those outside promoter shows because people like you. Um, Hello, Wheezy. Out of control, Wheezy Jefferson. Um, well, I'm honest. I don't know if I'm a class act, but I'm honest. So Red Band is a great tech guy, not a funny stand-up. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've not watched a lot of his stand-up. So I've been on a few shows with him, and listen, this isn't me kissing his ass because I want nothing from Red Band. And I can't give him anything. So you guys know me. I keep it real. The last time I saw Red Band do stand up was at his comedy club in Austin when I was there, and he did very well. I got to be straight with you. He did well. Now I haven't, and if you take that show out of the equation, I didn't even watch him do stand up at the Ice House shows because usually we'd be doing the podcast. He'd leave, do his set, come back, bring me up. So I'm sure people are, oh, he's Skakel's a Red Band ball washer. I've never seen him bomb, but I've only seen him go up once or twice. So, thoughts on, I mean, I don't have any thoughts on Ray. Like, we barely know each other, to be honest with you. I mean, I did a stream a few times. We didn't even really hang out at Hackamania that much. I mean, I was there for less than 24 hours. So, that was my first time meeting him. Nice enough guy. I mean, I don't know. That's really my only thoughts about him, I guess. Uh, I know nothing about Dave Smith. Never seen him go up. Shaw is one of the most hated people online. Well, I don't think he did himself any favors with, and listen, Schaub at one point was a draw, so he probably got cocky and, but he also got super defensive probably. I mean, because you got to think how hard it was for Schaub to run in his circle where, it's Rogan, it's D'Elia, it's Callan, it's Eric Griffin, Hinchcliffe, Santino, and all those guys have multiple specials. and Shab was like the only one who didn't. So he was kind of probably made fun of in that group, and he's like, "Fuck it, I want to do a special." And we know how that went. I didn't see the second one, but I can't imagine it was any. I can't say it was bad, but I didn't want. I don't know. So I just think he rushed his way through the process, and you can't. That's one of the great things about stand-up comedy is you can't rush through it. Like in terms of the experience, the practice, you have to put in the work or you'll just be exposed. And he was exposed. Like he didn't go to open mics. He didn't go to good workout rooms and like, get some chops. I'm famous, fuck it. I'll just learn, kind of like Piven. Piven's never really gone to workout room. I don't expect Piven to go to a fucking open mic, but like, he just recites his act that people give him jokes and it's rough. And he's in a tough bind because he can't really do entourage stories because the crowds that go see him are young. They don't know what entourage is. As crazy as that sounds. Peter Chicken Man, Shab is loaded, has his new car thing going on. Plus, he has a lot of endorsements. But make no mistake, he's finding it. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's lived a good life. I mean, you know how much money he makes on his podcast. And I don't know if I would say he has tons of endorsements, but I don't know, to be honest with you. Well, yeah, I mean, I think, it's the old saying in comedy, Chicken Man, and you know this, whoever you are, you can fool an audience once, not twice. So you can get a packed audience at, say, the Comedy Store one night, and then if you bomb your ass off, they're not going to come back the second night. And, I just think that he was exposed, as not being the best comic. And, it's too bad because he's likable. Like, he's got that, like, fucking Jethro Bodine, Goober and Gomer type vibe to him. But just the material's not there. And to watch that for an hour, like, sorry. Yeah, I mean, Bill was probably right. 8 out of 10. Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10. But there are a lot of funny people that you've never heard of before. I mean, how many of you people ever heard of me before I started streaming? Probably not many. And look how great I am. We don't talk about that, Aaron Butler. We don't talk about your sex life in here. Whoa. Our first super chat of the evening with my new ray gun. I'll turn off the light so you get a better... Boulder Johnny, $5 for your time you give us all. Thank you. Thank you very much, Boulder Johnny, for your financial tip, as William Zoom would say. It's a tip. It's not a super chat. It's a tip. I mean, I don't feel bad for him. I mean, it's like if I tried to fight in the UFC and I bypassed taking classes, jiu-jitsu or wrestling seminars, and I just went right into the fucking ring like CM Punk. Now, CM Punk had some training, but, CM Punk should not have started in the UFC. Maybe Bellator or Strikeforce or, local, excuse me, independent promotion and then take it from there. But, like, I just think that, you can't start at the top when you have virtually no experience. Because then you're going to, the problem with Shaw was he was on lineups with, like, Tripoli, me. I remember the one show I was with him on at the Improv. This was the lineup. It was Redband, Holtzman, Hinchcliffe, Rogan, and Shaw. And I think maybe one or two others. I don't remember. And it's just like, that's a pretty solid lineup. And you're putting yourself, he went on after me, and I had a really good set. I didn't kill like Joey Diaz, but I had a good set. And Shab had trouble following me. And like, I'm not that hard to follow, to be honest with you, because I'm not high energy. Excuse me. I'm just more of a fucking joke teller. without much movement. But he was nice to me that night. I brought him up, gave him a good intro. He gave me a fist bump, said, "Great job, dude." I said, "Go get him." Um, that light works. Dr. Chow. But Dr. Chow and Boulder Johnny talking. I don't mind that. Yes, that new it does work. I think it's more powerful than the Steve Stevens ray gun. Thank you very much. It's all right, Kip Smith. We're gonna go for a few minutes and then I'm gonna work out. Uh in I mean, listen, and I don't know who the guy was before me in Hackamania, but fuck, he might have had one. Listen, I'm not going to say the guy wasn't funny because that could have been the one bad set he had in his life, and I just so happened to see it. Um, I mean, Schaub got more laughs than the guy at Hackamania, to be honest with you. Yeah, listen, CM Punk had some training, but I had some boxing training when I took boxing lessons from the Weaver triplets, Floyd, Lloyd, and Troy, brother of Mike Weaver. But I certainly wasn't qualified to box. Um, would you agree that comedians don't take well the new comedians coming from other? I mean, I don't. I don't know about other comics. I don't think many comics have a problem with Piven or Schaub or Steve O or whatever. Now I'll give Steve O this. He's very respectful. Like he never ran the light. He always would bring up people good intros and whatnot. I've seen Piven bring up comics. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if he's funny or not. Give it up for Jimmy Johns. Vito the Pedo. Okay, I don't know who that is. So talk about a rough guy to follow. The Chosen Hero, Schaub, and the like will find an audience. I mean, if I was Schaub, I wouldn't have done stand-up. I would have just done stories. It's what I told Roddy Piper to do. I've said, bro, and I'm straight up. Like I even told Roddy, you're not the funniest guy, bro. This isn't a wrestling promo. Most of these people in here don't really know who you are. So just tell wrestling. Do what Jake the Snake does. I opened up for Jake the Snake Roberts, and he was fucking amazing. He drew you in with his storytelling ability. And, he really drew you in. Like, even if he has a great story, and I think I've said it before on here about he was hanging out with Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Beefcake was worried that his wife was fucking Rick Rude. And so they go somewhere and they're on the freeway and they're talking and Beefcake is still upset. And they both look over and there goes Beefcake's wife in a car with Rick Rude. But, and he drew it out for like a 20-minute story, but you were on pins and needles. Schaub could tell these amazing stories about who he fought, going to Brazil to fight Nogueira and shit like that. And people would probably be into it. But, I don't know, who was giving him advice. I've never done a stand-up show with Chad, to my knowledge. Well, I don't think Maron and Rogan like each other. I get that vibe. I would say Maron's probably a little jealous of the success of Joe's podcast, but I don't know. Maron's always nice to me, but when you're that successful like Maron and Rogan, you're probably not going to like each other. Well, I mean, his fans didn't really, the Comedy Store is kind of its own island, where like you see it now where some comics with popular podcasts are past there and, they don't do well because their fans aren't there. Anyone can listen to a podcast. I mean, we've got 12 people in this stream right now. I'll guess that probably none of you are in Los Angeles. So, yeah, I might be, let's say there was 12,000 people in this stream right now. Probably very few people would be in Los Angeles. Now, the Comedy Store might see my stream and go, my God, this guy's got 12,000 people in his stream. Let's pass him. With thinking being, they'll come to the Comedy Store and see him. But, they're not in LA, they're in Minnesota, they're in Ohio, they're in Canada, they're in London, they're in, I think we have bands in like fucking Malaysia. So, podcasts are free. You can, I guess, on YouTube, you can subscribe and give super chats and super thanks. But, like, for the most part, this is a free form of entertainment for you guys. Going to the Comedy Store is a commitment. You have to go there. You have to pay for parking. You've got to pay for tickets. You've got to probably do a dinner beforehand. It's an expensive commitment to go to not just the Comedy Store, but the comedy club. So, Shop's fans weren't coming to the store because they're probably none of them are from Los Angeles, or very few. Uh, well, I mean, Jake, just to listen to him tell stories is unbelievable. And I don't even know if Joe's like a super wrestling fan, but like he even drew Joe in. Did you ever have a comedian piss at you? I mean, listen, there's no, because like, and this has happened before, like the other night, maybe not the other night, maybe about a month ago, because at the Comedy Store, the crowd picks the comic to leave on. They just do. Um, and like I had probably my best original room set ever. I mean, I was approaching Joey Diaz level of killing. It was a late night crowd, and let me say this: George Perez, who went on before me, gave me the best intro. This crowd was hot, and not everyone was doing well. Like the comic before George had bombed, and then George killed. And George set me up with this crowd with such an amazing intro. It was the perfect intro for this crowd. And, I rarely kill, but that night I killed. And I had done so well that I would say 60 to 70% of the room left when I brought up Dave Waite, who's a very funny comic. And I waited around after and said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry. I tried to hold him." And he got it. Like, he knew that I couldn't have been doing any better than I did that night. So a lot of times it's not someone bombing before you, it's they're doing so well that the audience is like, "Well, it's not gonna be any better than this guy, so I'm gonna leave." But I've never had anyone mad. I mean, to my face. And the 1 or 2 times I bombed and I brought up someone, I've apologized to them, say, "Hey, man, I tried." Hey, Earl, just done watching the Lightning beating the Penguins. Yeah, Penguins are struggling, man. The Shore family still runs the comedy club. Yeah, I mean, it's expensive to go to a comedy club. I mean, when you think about it. Now, of course, if any of you ever want to come to a show at the store, or if I'm ever playing the road, I'll hook you up with a free ducat. But if you don't know a comic on the lineup, I'm just picking the Comedy Store just because I'm more familiar with it. You know, you're probably going to dinner, so that's 100 to $200 in LA. You gotta look for parking. That's $25. 2 drink minimum. So if you're with a date, that's 4 drinks, and maybe more if you're drinking. So anywhere from 4 to 6 drinks. And then, if you go out afterwards, nightcap, or, late night snack at Jones or whatever, Dan Tana's, you're talking a night out at the Comedy Store is easily, if you include the dinner. Now, that's not on the Comedy Store, but a night out where a comedy club is involved, it's a couple $100. So, you know, it's a financial commitment for sure. No, I mean, I get a few groans on the Michael Jackson joke, but I have a perfect save line, which goes back to like, Kill Tony comics or Roast Battle comics not having the save line ready for when something bombs. I do the Michael Jackson joke. And if I get a groan or not the reaction I want, I'm like, what? I'm the fucking bad guy? I mean, Stevie Wonder could see what was going on at the Neverland Ranch, and that gets the crowd back. I have a 9/11 joke I do where I'm like, is that joke too soon? Because I was doing 9/11 jokes before the second plane hit the tower. And, that joke usually always works, but, sometimes it doesn't. Does the store charge non-paid regulars for alcohol? Um, I think, I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I think if you're one of the cool kids, you might get a free drink here and there, but I know they're definitely, clamping down on all the freebies because, like tonight's roast battle night, and it's popular still. I don't go up there on Tuesday nights, but you get these roast battle comics who really they're not passed at the club, and probably most of them never will be. It's no shade, it's just the truth. And they go in the kitchen and they act like they own the fucking place. Now you got to understand at the Comedy Store, um, the kitchen is like hallowed ground. Like only the coolest of the cool kids get to loiter and hang out there because there's a lot of shit going on and there's money back there. And like, you don't want some open mic level comic just chilling. And, you know, they expect like free drinks and stuff. It's like, you're not passed here. Your name's not on the wall. Like you're literally up here one night of the week. And on any other night other than Tuesday night, nobody gives a shit about you. So and there's other nights like bringer show promoters, like the black show on Thursday nights. Some of the comics who do that show walk around like they own the place, and it's like, no, come back here tomorrow night, see if anyone cares. Is yes, Brian Moses still is the ringmaster of Roast Battle. Yeah, 100%. I don't know that story, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's welcomed at the Comedy Store, and he does some outside shows. Um, I was on a show with him in 2018. It was me, Sarah Tiana, Dolph Ziggler, Jeff Dye, Dan Black, a couple other comics. But like, and I get it. Everyone wants to be passed at the Comedy Store. I mean, Jeff. Is someone who he gets spots at the Laugh Factory, the Improv, TV spots, and even he still wants to be passed at the store. Like I don't get spots at the Improv; he's kills it at the Improv. I don't know what the deal is with him and Emily. I don't know. That's not me playing dumb. I just, I don't take on other people's battles. Do you know if the comedian voiceover actor, the devil, Jeff Garcia, is still banned at the store? I mean, put it this way, I've been passed at the Comedy Store since 2014. I've never seen Jeff Garcia there. But he's another one. I mean, I'm sure he probably wishes he was passed there. And he might be passed there, I'm not sure. But, he headlines all over. He's got the Mexican room circuit. So, um, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't. We'll go another 5 minutes, guys, and then I'm going to work out. Thank you to Boulder Johnny for your financial tip. Thoughts on Dr. Oz being in charge of Medicare and Medicaid? I mean, there's got to be someone a little more qualified, to be honest with you. Well, I don't know about that. Are you ready to rock? I really can't get into that. I wasn't around for that. Who headlines, Earl Skakel or Neil Brennan? Depends on the room. I mean, at the Comedy Store, well, I mean, I go on last on Saturday nights. I don't know if that's necessarily headlining. It's more just going on last. But, I would guess that Neil Brennan would headline over me in most circumstances. But, I also think Neil probably wouldn't want to go on last on Saturday night at 1 a.m. like I do. But I'm a fucking soldier. Would you ever go that far, Earl? I mean, yeah, probably not. Yeah, I mean, well, my first time I was ever offered a showcase, Duncan Trussell, he was the talent coordinator before Tommy. Well, he asked me if I wanted a showcase because he had seen me go up a few times. Now, I'm glad I didn't get it, to be honest with you, because I wasn't that funny back then, but this was about 2002, maybe. So I was 2 years in, clearly not ready to showcase. Even though that was the Comedy Store dark era, I probably would have survived. Um, and then Duncan calls me up the next day and goes, "Yeah, Mitzi doesn't want to showcase a Kennedy." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not a Kennedy. I'm a Skakel." He's like, and he felt bad because he knew I was funny enough to get the showcase, but I probably wouldn't have done that well. And then I showcased almost a decade later, a little more than a decade later. So it all worked out. Vegas has bets on which Trump staff member will be fired first. I say Dr. Oz. Okay, we don't. Now you're doing. Are you bombing in my chat, Dr. Chow? Come on, now you can do better than that. I mean, this ain't hackamania. Shit. Yeah, who wrote that for you? Vito the pedo. All right, we got 4 more minutes, guys, before my mood shuts off, and I'm putting the arrow over the end stream button. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna jokes in my stream, you got to be funny, or I got to call you out. I mean, that joke was so bad, Dr. Chow, you should super chat me. That's how bad that joke was. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. You know I love you, Dr. Chow. I mean, looking what I went into Hackmania knowing what it was going to be like. Like when I walked into the room, there was a guy setting up a camera in the back with some other dude. He says, "Hey, that's Skakel. Make sure the camera's on when he gets up." And then when I walked on stage, uh, I saw a guy in the second row fumbling around with his cell phone, trying to reach. So I knew, like I think I was a little more self-aware of what Hackamania was going to be. It wasn't a traditional stand-up festival. Like, that crowd was there for, basically to roast all the people from Hackamania or from the Dabbleverse. Um, Now, I will say, I think the better part of Hackamania was to win Earl Skakel's money. I mean, that was kind of like Kill Tony meets the Gong Show. There were some really funny comics on that. And we actually paid them the money. So um, I had more fun doing that than fighting the crowd. And I, in defense of Melton, I said, listen, I'll go last. I'll close it out. Because I'm so used to closing out long shows at the Comedy Store. I mean, do I wish Vito the Pedo didn't go on before me? Probably. But I don't know the guy. I'm sure he's funny. He just had a bad set that night. You think Melton regrets big timing Segura back in the day? I mean, I don't know what their relationship was, so I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of comics probably regret 2 more minutes, guys. 2 more minutes. Probably big timing Segura and Kreischer, and now you look at how Kreischer treats his openers. Flies them around the world. Russell Peters. I'm sure when Russell was coming up in Canada, people treated him like shit. And Russell will literally take his opener to the mall and buy them a Rolex. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who have regret with how they treated Russell back in the day. Uh, no, I mean the crowd was pretty. I mean, I got heckled once at Win Earl Skakel's money. Some guy was basically like, "Skakel sucks," and like this is what and this is kind of like why I loved Roast Battle. I said to the guy instantly, "Come up here and say it to my face." And not so I could fight him, but you want to troll me live? Come up on the stage and say it. And they declined. Russell's awesome. Like he's like just one of the best parts about this business. He is just a good. Like I'm sorry, it was a fucking long drive, 7 hours on a Friday night. I'm gonna talk about it because it was fresh in my mind. Now I'm not trying to talk the guy into thinking I'm funny. If the guy doesn't think I'm funny, fuck it, I'll live. Not everyone's gonna think you're funny, but it was just like, dude, I fucking probably am losing money doing this gig. You don't think I'm funny? That's fine, but like, fuck off. Um, but that's how I am. So this has been another edition of the Earlverse, a good stream. Support everyone in the stream. Thank you, Boulder Johnny, for your tip. Much appreciated as always. Thank you, Zoom, for being the moderator. I don't know where Kip Smith and Gina Babina are. Dr. Chow, always a pleasure. Listen to Dr. Chow and Chad's show. And thank you guys all. I'll probably stream tomorrow. I love you all. Earl Skakel in the Earlverse, over and out. Goodbye.